Hello and welcome everyone to Punish for Protecting. Today, our live broadcast that is being seen and heard on CPS News Network, on my YouTube channel, Punished No More and Free to Protect, and also on Facebook. I just want to let everyone know before I bring my guests out today that I am censored horrifically on Facebook to the point that I need your help. It has been over a year that I have been maliciously censored on Facebook. So, first, put out a little FYI and ask all of the viewers to please, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. That helps us get more, the algorithms up. And when the algorithms go up, we get more attention to these horrific and tragic stories that we expose. Number two, on Facebook, what has happened is I split platformed off of CPS News Network, my YouTube channel, and my personal page. Within less than 5 hours, I was completely shut down on all of my Facebook pages, to include Punished for Protecting News page and my personal Facebook page. And they've given me absolutely no reason why. So I am being very censored. And you know what that tells me? That tells me that it is the information that they do not want out. They do not want this information out. And they definitely don't want it coming out of my mouth. And I think they don't want it coming out of my mouth because I have a way of explaining it to all kinds of people that used to not believe what we were saying. And the more attention on the people that used to not believe what we were saying that we get, that means that more people that don't understand that this is a diabolical child trafficking industry and they don't want to be exposed. So I really need your help. So please go over to the YouTube channel, Punished No More and Free to Protect, so we can be, as a nation, punished no more and free to protect our children and our families and get those algorithms up for me. I really appreciate that. I will be working on Facebook to see what we can do to have this particular broadcast, these broadcasts out. Now today I have a very special guest, and actually I have two very special guests. I have a special guest that's coming out today that you've seen before, and I have a very special guest here. If you see here, it's Citizens and Bikers for a Brighter Future. This is a very amazing program that we have today, and I am very excited, and I feel quite blessed to be able to have this amazing gentleman come out. He is the international president, and his name is Will Sabo, and he's Citizens and Bikers for a Brighter Future. But with him today, we have another very special guest that I am very excited to bring out, who's become a friend of mine, and that is Meghan Walsh. Meghan Walsh is the daughter of John Walsh, and as you all know, John Walsh is the founder and owner of the Missing and Exploited. Well, we've been exposing a lot regarding what has really been going on. And so the National Center for Missing and Exploited, Children is his foundation. And we're going to be talking about all of this today. So without further ado, I am going to be bringing out my guests today. Oh, sorry, I just did something that I wasn't supposed to do here. Here we go. Let's bring them on out onto the link. And here they are. So, hi, and welcome both of you to the program today. Can we just test the sound real quick? I want to make sure I can hear you.
Hi.
Can you hear us?
Beautiful. So I want to let the audience know we did not do a pre-interview on this. So this is raw and it is live. And there's a saying, people that have nothing to hide, hide nothing. So we didn't pre-interview. obviously I know Meghan very, very well, but this is my very literal first introduction to both of us today, right? So hi, and it's really great to have you on here, Mr. Sabo, and I'm grateful to have you both here. And let's just go to it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, and why you're here today, and all that good stuff. Thank you.
Well, our organization started primarily as a domestic assault, domestic violence advocacy group. We rescue victims of domestic assault. And when we started investigating sex trafficking, child trafficking, we found out how prevalent the situation was. We've kind of shifted gears in a lot of ways and gotten involved in that. And Meghan and I were put in contact with each other a while back, and we've been in communication with each other, but she's been so busy, and now things are heating up a little bit. So she asked us to get involved, and we're glad to do it.
I am I am so happy to see the amount of people that are joining forces together and doing this kind of work. Let me ask you a quick question, and then we'll have Meghan do like a little pre-intro for herself, for anybody that hasn't watched before. But are you noticing that like a lot of these families, a lot of times people were rescuing children at the border and so on, but are you noticing that a lot of these children that need to be rescued, and families and mothers, are happening through the family court? Can you touch on that a little bit? Can you talk about that?
Well, I wasn't. Meghan is one that kind of brought me into the awareness of it. We had been kind of involved in the undocumented situation with the immigrants coming in, and the children just disappearing. And when my awareness came with the CPS situations, it's kind of become a personal war. But it's a matter of waking people up to it. People don't believe that our government agencies would do things like this, and it's heartbreaking to me, because the country that we grew up in, it's supposed to be the greatest nation in the world, and we're gauged by how we treat our children, our elderly, and the people who can't help themselves. And when our children are taken from the parents,
just drove by.
Yep. When our children are taken from parents and shuffled through a system, it's amazing how many they lose track of. Just put it that way.
Yeah, and we know that, and we've been exposing that, and we've proven through statistics, and actual physical hands-on. I mean, I do actual physical. Ask Meghan; she'll tell you, very detailed, very hands-on, getting to know these families and knowing that they're not doing anything wrong, but they're being abused through a system and trafficked through a system. But the statistics, and when I say this about statistics, there are fake statistics that are out there. Okay, but I'm talking about real statistics combined with my hands-on work. Okay, that we have proven that the foster care system has killed more children and abused more children. And I'm actually going to be doing a live broadcast in a couple of weeks with Susan Cobb, and we're going to show you just how many children have been murdered through the foster care system. There's no comparison of biological parents. The only thing we find with biological parents is when they're tormented through a system like this in order to protect their children, they may do something that's called filicides. Filicides is when they kill themselves, the children and themselves, because they want to protect their children. And it's so sad that they're put into such a excruciating situation. I would never, I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm simply saying that this is what it's led them to do. But yes, and so now, if you don't mind, and actually someone just asked, you're not a part of BACA, I don't believe. Is that correct?
No, I've been a member of BACA off and on in my life, but I'm no longer affiliated with BACA. No.
Okay. No, because I do know, like, from working with families, BACA, they're wonderful people, and I've met them at many events, but they're not allowed to guard children unless there's a protection order. Right. And I've even known some of them step outside of that because there needed to be a protection order, but with all the corruption there wasn't, that they've actually had to step outside of it just so that they could help children, which is sad to have any kind of rules that would stop us from protecting. But anyway, Megan, if you don't mind, can you go ahead and I'm going to show some photographs here. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself for anybody that doesn't know you or doesn't know about your situation, your story?
Yeah, of course. Thank you as always for having me. And thank you everyone that's joining us, viewing this, and helping us share.
There's a choppiness with you. I don't know if I'm the only one that hears it, but try it one more time. He was real clear.
How about now?
Beautiful.
Okay. Well, again, I guess I'll start over. I just want to thank, you for having us today. Francesca, of course, you're so incredible. And we could not go through any of this without you. And you have just been doing this for so long when people had no idea. You always had the courage, and I can't thank you enough. And I also want to thank everyone that's joining us today and sharing this information and really being open-minded to hearing a different reality than the narrative we've been given regarding CPS and protecting our children overall. Of course, I am Meghan Walsh. I am the daughter of John Walsh from America's Most Wanted, also the founder of the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, as well as the International Center for Missing Exploited Children. Here we see my parents giving an award to Hunter Biden. It is not Beau Biden. It was after Beau Biden's death. I believe recently following, actually, where he is accepting the award on behalf of his brother here in this photo. But, again, for people that aren't familiar with my story, last April, my children were taken by CPS under a TICO order, a taken to custody order, that there was no investigation done. This was all done on hearsay and allegations. And that's a huge foundation to the issues that we have within the system. If you got mad at your neighbor, you could call and say, oh, they're doing something to their children, and it's really not being looked into. They're using that as an immediate reason and opportunity to come in, take over your life, and take your children physically. They have given custody to my parents, who started this entire thing. And a lot of it, if you are speaking out like I am, a lot of people know the playbook. They took my home. They are trying to slander and defame. They make you look like a criminal. They make you look insane. And it is severe narcissistic abuse and many other things deeper than that. Unfortunately, this started because I was asking questions about the center, the International Center and the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. I was asking questions about my brother, Adam Walsh, who many will remember was the little boy with the baseball bat taken from Sears in Hollywood, Florida in 1981. And started all of this with the Protecting Our Children, the Missing and Exploited Children. And I started asking questions about that, as well as speaking up about the abuse that I've endured from my parents. Many people, across the country and the world know my parents, and they know a certain public persona that's been put out. And I think that people really need to start thinking about the private lives of these kind of people and celebrities that we really look to and don't even question in many ways. I understand that a lot of information and who my father is in itself will cause, people to have certain feelings about it. My father is seen as a national hero, and he's been my hero my entire life. I honor my father, my mother, but I cannot honor what they are doing, what they've allegedly been in support of and aided in the past. And the fact that they, talk about missing exploited children, but why aren't we addressing? Why isn't the National Center addressing the issue with CPS? The largest root of our child trafficking in our country and in our world is CPS. And as the masses were really given this overall, these bigger scenarios, Epstein, things that really make it seem like we can't make a difference. And I'm really here to show people that we can make a difference. This is about us coming together as the people, our voices, and getting active in your local community. That's how we come together. That's how we cross the divide. And that's how we get the truth out. Unfortunately, we've allowed a system that simply is not serving. This isn't about pride or winning. We need to be able to, as a people, come together and recognize when a system that we've allowed is no longer working and is actually harming our children severely. I mean, beyond belief. So, we're here speaking out, and it's just been amazing to be able to come together as people of all walks of life all over the country and really be talking with passion and love and integrity about these issues and how to truly protect our children and keep our families together. There's a huge focus on the children, but this is about families, and that is the best interest of children ultimately. And when we focus on that, that's how we really focus on the future as well. So it's a large picture that we really need to pay attention to. And once we address it and correct it, it would have an enormous impact on our society, actually.
You're 100% right. And oops, sorry about that. You're 100% right. And here's a picture. Can you kind of touch on this quick picture, and then I'm going to go back um, to talking about citizens and bikers for a brighter future. But show, what is this right here? Can you see that?
Oh, that would be a photo of me for the second time with President Ronald Reagan being presented a black box of jelly beans. And I look very interesting, don't I, on there? So, yeah, that's me in the White House. I've grown up on Capitol Hill. I was, presented and introduced to, my father's affiliations, which are many presidents and senators and politicians. A lot of people know him for America's Most Wanted, but in actuality, he started out on Capitol Hill. With things like the Adam Walsh Act and things that we've found, again, to be very unconstitutional, unfortunately. And there I am right there with Reagan.
So it's interesting because the look on your face there looks like you're already questioning things. Even as a young baby, you got this look on your face like you're already questioning things, and it kind of stayed instilled deep inside of you. But I'm just grateful to have the two of you here, and I've been doing this well over 14 years. We're now pushing 15. It'll be 15 years, and I find myself my heart broken all the time. I'm working with countless families. Meghan, both of you have seen and witnessed what message I've been trying to get out there, and the urgency of it all and the importance of it all. And, when you made that one statement about, and I've said this a lot, when you make that statement about, yes, we are concerned for the children, we're concerned for the parents. And I've said that many times because obviously God knew what he was doing when he placed these children into the care of parents. And I'm not saying that, of course, there are parents out there that have done diabolical things to their own children. What we found, though, is that the foster care system has done far more, and there's a higher percentage of that. There's a higher percentage of that. I'm gonna have you, if you don't mind. Is it okay to call you William, or how do you want to be addressed?
Will is fine.
Will, okay. So, what got you started in all of this? What got you, started in doing all of this to help families and so on?
Wow. Well, I've been a professional musician all of my adult life, and one thing we didn't have a lot of is money as a musician, but we had time, and we could give our time to good causes. And I started getting involved in veterans causes and old folks homes and fundraisers and things like that. And then I got involved with children. And I'm a parent myself. I'm a grandparent now, without dating myself. I love children, and the giving back to, because children are the future, and giving back to them is the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. I for my spirit, and it kind of, to me, I'm setting an example. If it only takes one person to take time out and save a kid, and help a kid, take a little bit of time and focus and energy on children. But when you see what's the way our society is treating them and the way our government is just passing over them, passing them along, the things that are happening with kids today should never happen. And I've just found a group of people who believe the way I believe, that we have to fight for the kids, because the kids can't fight for themselves. And obviously the people we trust in the bureaucracy of government don't care either. So if one person cares here and one person cares there and one person cares here and there and everywhere, and we can come together, that's a lot. You eventually get a lot of people. And our group is we're nationwide. We're actually international. But in America right now, our focus is child trafficking.
Yeah, and that's what this all is. And we've put the pieces together, and it's the saddest thing ever. Initially, when I started like on doing all this homework and saying, I used to ask myself, like, why are these judges making these orders? Why are they making the opposite of normal orders? And then, little by little, just a little investigating, I realized this is child trafficking. They're trafficking through this sophisticated system, through this fake CPS. They call it protective services, but it's not. It's child predator services. It's
Absolutely.
child predator services. It's child pedophilia services. And, guys, when you ask us, what can you do to help? Some people don't have a penny to do a thing, but you can share a video right now. You can share this story because, a lot of amazing people are coming together. Meghan knows about it. You're going to start seeing some more stuff hitting this platform and other platforms that we're working together on. Guys, sharing a video, hitting, commenting, look at the comments that are coming in now, telling another person, helping us, because let me tell you something, okay? I'm a nonprofit, and that literally means that no profit. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, no profit. But these nonprofits that are out there, these 501c3s, I am not that. They are making, and Meghan, you can touch on this for sure. They're making trillions of dollars. We're starving, helping families, and they're making I've given everything I have, and they're making trillions of dollars off of children right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they've been doing this for decades. So if you wonder why I'm passionate, guys, they're stealing your everything. They're robbing your pensions. They're robbing your children's, if you want to send them to college, they're robbing their college futures. They're robbing vacations. They're robbing your holidays. They're robbing your family time. They're robbing your jobs, your careers, everything. And then the worst is they're robbing your children. What could be worse in our country? What could destroy us more than anything in this world? What is the most valuable thing is your children, our neighbors, right? So please help us as much as you can. People are coming forward. I've got people that come from extremely poor families. I've got people that come from literally $1 million families that are suffering no different because they want everything you have. They want it. Am I wrong or right, Meghan? Can you touch on that? What kind of money are they making? And we don't get grants. They go to them. They get grants on top of donations, on top of federal funding, on top of tax dollars, on top of abortion funds, on top of you name it. Will you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you always put it so well and so accurately. And sadly, that's what we've been finding, when we look into the audits, of the National Center itself. For example, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, they present as a government agency. They get federal funding. They get about, I believe it's $38 million a year of our taxpayer money to protect our children and missing and exploited children. Yet they are a private nonprofit 501c3 exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. They also heavily rely on the private sector. And what we've found is that their donors in the private sector are mostly big tech. Data, in other words, energy, social media. Facebook is the largest donor a year from our wonderful friend Mark, who donates $1 million a year. And what we found is that when people called to report incidents and situations that had to do with those types of platforms, or those platforms specifically, that they would call back, and the reports would be just missing or gone. So unfortunately, it's appearing allegedly like a pay-to-play system there, with high immunity. The ability to have the control over the information that we receive. We've found 18-month-old and several week-old babies listed as runaways on the registry itself, and on the database. So there's so many different ways that this is being used. We've even found Adam Walsh requirements and forms for state, out of state, and international adoptions. So this is really a monopoly on our children. And again, it is a clearinghouse, which that is a financial term. It is not, that does not apply to our children and to us. So that really puts in perspective how we are viewed. And to go back to even just traditional living, how you want to raise your children. We have a huge concern in our country now with the school boards and parents speaking up about their parental rights. And that's amazing, but we're really not still getting to the root of it. If we can establish our parental rights within this CPS, DCF, DHS system, then we really set, that kind of starts to cascade into the other areas like school boards and things like that, because we've set a precedent that we are the parents. We absolutely have the right under God to make these decisions for our children. I was homeschooling, natural healing and health. Many know that I have cancer on my nose, and I'm healing that naturally with Rick Simpson oil. And really teaching my children about a natural way to live, humble, traditional is what I want to say. We really do need to be concerned. This isn't about fear mongering the public, but you have to understand that you will be addressed, and they will ask you, they will look at you if you are trying to raise your children in a traditional way these days, unfortunately. And that makes anyone that is of that vein, vulnerable to that, and their children. So as you also said, I'm trying to touch on a couple things here, but this is affecting everyone. This is not about John Walsh's daughter. This is not about, poverty. There's no equation, or nothing equates to poverty and neglect. That is not an automatic. That's very inaccurate. And, we really need to address that and really be transforming the system. We need to abolish it, as you say. These people need to be arrested, and we need to start with our money going towards supportive ways. There are better ways. I've said this. There's simply better ways to address these issues. Yes, I've seen comments on here, and we've talked about this before, Francesca. There are real situations of abuse. There are biker groups and different groups that have been involved in these things in the past, but it's not the past anymore. And we all have an opportunity to face that, dichotomy, and really choose which side we want to be on of it. And, at this point in our country, and even globally, if you are silent or you are ignorant to this, and this doesn't affect you or strike you in some way, you are complicit to this. You are allowing it. And your tax dollars are paying for it. And our children are being stolen. Don't take the Epstein bait. Don't take the international trafficking that we can't do anything about. This is around you. This is your county commissioners. This is your DCF or CPS system and local department. This is not government. This is a private kangaroo system that is stealing our children and having high authority, threatening, harassing, breaking parents, traumatizing the children, and there is no concern for the perspective of the children whatsoever. Without any oversight, without any responsibility, high immunity, no accountability. CPS should be the first to be audited every second. There should be full disclosure on our children. There should be the highest burdens of proof before any termination of rights or even removals. You cannot be a system sitting there on messages of a foundation that you are doing the exact opposite of. You are actually responsible for this damage to our children and families.
You should be able to track these children to the time they the case gets closed. You should be able to follow every aspect of what's going on in these kids' lives. It belongs to all of us, and we're not doing anything about it. As a nation, we just let it go. We assume you're in that system. It's because you're a bad parent, and the government's right. You're wrong, and that's not the case 9 times out of 10.
I can even say it's not the case 10 times out of 10, because I do this all over, and I've met these parents and I'm sickened by it. I mean, I've got a story that's going to be coming out soon, where they let the parents were disabled parents, but very fine parents. And, people can be, when I say disabled, I'm not just talking about like emotional disabilities, but there's disabilities that they shouldn't violate in the first place. And there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever, or people are very high functioning, or then there's just like psychological injury that they cause, or they come out of abuse and they have psychological injury and just need time to heal, and they rip their children away. Like it's barbaric. But the thing is that I have this story where they, sorry, I just had to mute you real quickly just to make sure they don't get back feed. The father kept saying, please, you got to take my daughter out of this foster care. She was a baby, under 2. I think like, I want to say over 12 months, but still a baby, ended up in the swimming pool and drowned to death. And they were calling him delusional. This doctor right here, Dr. Nathanson, was calling them delusional. Everybody was delusional. So every single person that he diagnosed, everybody was diagnosed, Dr. Nathanson said, as delusional. Okay, they took their children saying everyone was delusional. Now I have ongoing conversations with these people on a Monday, on a Friday, on a weekend, at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, different times. I've never seen any delusion. Like, they're completely coherent, very clear. There's no delusion. Like, I'm not a psychiatrist, but it's pretty obvious to see that these people are not delusional. And they certainly weren't delusional when they were concerned for the safety of their child. That foster care is still open. Now, you're taking children based on, and I always say Cheerios, or you're taking them based on a false allegation. But when there's actual abuse occurring in a foster home, you're leaving them there. They're not doing background checks on these people. Anybody is fostering children. Don't get me wrong. There'll be a handful of good ones out there. There's a handful of good people that adopt. I'm not saying that. But overall, when you look at this as overall, you're seeing the absolute abuse. This is the parent. This is the mother of this is the wife of the doctor. And her husband is diagnosing everybody delusional. Yet you got here a baby drinking out of a beer bottle. That's okay. That's real ethical. So, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that we need protection from them, and their children need protection from them, and they're making the decisions for families. Now, the judges that I've seen, most of them are on cocaine. Most of them. This is not a like an unthought out statement. This is a legitimate statement that I'm making. Most of them are on cocaine. Most of them are on serious drugs to cope with the fact that they have hardened hearts, okay, and that they're doing this in the first place to people, and they're making decisions. They're buying, a 12-pack a day and downing it after work, okay, because they cannot remain sober. And then they're at work on a Monday taking somebody's kids based on something that makes absolutely no sense. But when you would be concerned for the child's safety and you would want to put safeguards up, they're not doing that. And then the parents are fighting, trying to get their children back to safety. And while they're going through that fight, they're suffering. They're suffering severe damage, and the children are suffering severe damage. It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, and it's so widespread. That's the other thing. This is so widespread and so intricately detailed. It is the child trafficking industry. It's sex trafficking. It's mental trafficking, emotional trafficking, physical trafficking. It's very sophisticated. I guess that's the word I can use. It's very sophisticated, and it runs through what I call child predator or child pedophilia services. But it's these judges that make the orders. Family court judges make these orders. I want to show you guys this picture. I've had it up on my wall before. I don't know how well you can see it. But this actually, if you look at this, this actually proves, it says 22 serial killers who were adopted. 22 serial killers who were adopted. It was a series. And then there's a man here named Scott O'Brien. And he says well over 90% of all prison inmates grew up in the foster care system. It's a system for making criminals, and the government makes a profit every step of the way. Okay. And there actually was a Netflix series that actually talked about this. And one little boy went to the police himself. He literally went to the police himself and sat at a desk with a police officer in the back room and told them what was happening to him. And the police officer just kind of looked at him, looked over him, glazed over him, and let him go. There was no report filed. Okay, we have to ask ourselves, in America that's watching, you that is watching right now, sharing, if that's all you can do is share, then just share the message. If that's all you can do. But if there's something else that you can do, like start a big protest, demand that this stops. We don't need any more laws, guys. We don't need any more laws with children's names on them, because that's a bunch of nonsense. That's just you chasing your tail. It's not that I'm against the parents that are doing this. I love these parents and I feel heartbroken for them. But putting a name on another law does nothing. There's just another named child on another law, and it doesn't even make any sense, because the laws that we have are fine. They're just not following them. You got to wake up and realize what this actually is, which is a child trafficking industry through our family court system and CPS, and it's all a big hoax. So that's why we have people, like Will here, like Lewis, at the borders, several different borders that they're protecting children from the cartel that are coming over to protect children from the cartel, because they're immediately taking them right into sex slavery. Same thing with their mothers. Immediately, that's what they're doing. That's what's happening. 2 million people have crossed the border now that are they're missing from their children and children from their parents. Little babies were literally just thrown overboard into the water to drown to death. Okay, just like the little girl that fell into the water and she drowned in Erie County, and this was Dr. Nathanson, and they were right. The parents were far from delusional. Their child he drowned to death, and nobody was watching her. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's what people aren't realizing, that the system really takes, these children from protective parents and they hand them to abusers. If there is abuse and there are these discrepancies and issues within each individual case, then that actually presents more profit for them. It's more services, it's more profit, and it's also, them having more longevity to have, a control and a say and a monitoring of your life. Excuse us for kind of looking to the side, but we had, we go grocery shopping yesterday and there's a private eye following us. We look out the window, there's sheriffs going by nonstop. Last night and the night before, the sheriff's helicopter was up at 2:40 in the morning, but we have noise ordinances, and things like that. So, they really do go after anyone speaking out, and while they're going after the family for children. Children are not like drugs to traffic. Children are reusable and resellable commodities. You can sell a child over and over and over again until they're not, and even beyond their life, if they're not alive anymore. Children are going missing in our system by the hour and not being reported on. As you touched on with physical abuse a couple weeks ago, as you know, Francesca, my 2-year-old baby said, Mommy, Grandma hit me in the face and Grandpa told her to stop. Then my 5-year-old backed it up in front of the DCF workers, by the way, here in Indian River County, and said, yes, she also kicked him in the neck and Grandpa told her to stop. I immediately contacted our case managers. I called the local sheriff for wellness checks. I reported to the hotline and nothing was done. Nothing has been done. They did not follow up. My children were taken on my father saying she's holding those children hostage in her own home. We need to get them out. And that was done. And my daughter was handed to a father that she's never known, never met, and different things like that. That also brings in the lawyers and everything. But, I just want to give an overview so that people really understand how this breaks down. And within the courts, like you said, we do have laws that are right. We don't need these acts and laws and in children's names. I am saying this from my brother being the forefront of this and starting Adam Walsh Act, Adam Walsh Center, Adam Walsh this and that. And, we really have to look at what nonprofits are these days. We have to be able to sit in the middle of situations. It's not black and white anymore. And it never was, to be honest. But, there are, again, real abuse situations. There are situations that children do need to be removed from, but this is not the way. It is not effective. This is harming and killing and profiting from families and children and breaking all of us. Look at your local center and look into their contracts with the local pharmacies, with local, I mean, foster homes that you brought up are not foster homes. They're foster prisons, and they are indoctrinating children, no matter what you believe, into trans, into gay, even notions of incest at this point. You know, a good friend of mine was retaliated against for knowing about information about crimes in her area, and her children were taken. So they were put in a two mommy home. Now one is, you know, dressing very butch and said, my new girlfriend is my foster sister. Okay. So, and that's even like a light version, you guys. And then they use the excuse that the children are thriving. Thriving is not monetary. Thriving is not eyes and ears on the children in the community. This is not, it takes a village. That is a false narrative that you have been given. It does not take a village. It takes a family to raise children and teach these fundamentals. And it is our right. God gives us these children. If we have issues as adults, these are adult issues that need to be addressed and supported, and therapy or whatever we need to do to support these parents and the adults involved in this situation. Anyone that is working for CPS now at this point is involved in it on the administrative side or anything like that, they're the ones that need to be psychologically evaluated. They are the ones that need to be held accountable. And yes, at this point, arrested.
Absolutely. I just showed a picture of Senator Nancy Schaefer. Senator Nancy Schaefer, if anybody knows who she is or was, actually, she was definitely murdered, her and her husband. She spoke out just like what we're saying, just like what we're talking about from Georgia. You know, she was a Christian, very strong Christian woman, and she exposed all of this. And she and her husband were shot and killed for it, and they tried to make it look like he shot her or something, which we knew this definitely did not happen. So this has been going on. You know, there's a lot of people making some comments here, and I am gonna touch on them, and you guys can also as well. So Jada here says, and I thought this was very good, what about changing the laws to end forced adoptions since they don't have a law for it? Now, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. However, we need to just abolish this system. My opinion is we need to defund this system. We need to abolish this system. This is a treasonous system. I can't get any more articulate about it. I've given the statistics. I've given the statistics right out of the Health and Human Services and the social services, all of that. You know, they admitted themselves that that the children are trafficked through their business. Okay, so basically, I what you're saying is true. It just needs to be ended. This needs to be ended, and we have the power to end it. I mean, Meghan, the way you're speaking of this, and I'm so grateful. You're giving it plain as can be. I can't get any more plain. I mean, this is the daughter of John Walsh. This is something for decades that people have been following, thinking, oh, this is great. This is humanitarianism, and you know, children are abducted and missing, and John Walsh is doing this, and it's complete and utter nonsense. I mean, I talked about it in my book back in 2018 when my son and I were put on missing and exploited. I mean, where we were put on a clearinghouse actually, and we were not missing. I was like, what the heck are they talking about? We're not missing, and you are exploiting my child now, and we are victims of abuse. And now you are literally putting us back into the hands of the abuse that we've already endured. And, you know, what she's saying, this is change for treason. Absolutely. This is change for treason. Absolutely. What do you guys want to say about this?
Well, I think that, you know, for a long time, women have been speaking out. Moms have been speaking out. It's not to say that fathers haven't either, but I think it's really great to see more men getting involved. I love seeing, you know, the response from, you know, the biker community and different communities like that. Again, we all have past, and we all have nothing is black and white with these situations, but we all have a choice on right or wrong. And I think that we're very fortunate these days to really be able to have people that want to look at that and say, you know what, I'm going to choose what's right. This is just fundamental. Like you said, these are just facts. This is not about, somebody's gossip or someone being upset. These are facts. We now have them in our face, and it's undeniable, and we need to end this. Like you said, we have to abolish this system. There are better ways. I highly encourage anyone that is working in the system with a good intention to come forward and start speaking out and support us and show that you were in this and you saw this and this is what is happening and you will not stand for it. I think a lot of people are, worried about their livelihoods and their jobs and their futures. They have families too. But you know what? That doesn't go anywhere. You don't lose your job. This is not a fight. This is just the truth. This is grace and justice, and it needs to be stopped. And you know what? If we redo and come up with a new system, to a new way to address these in a supportive way, in a loving way, in a way that, hi, we're here. We realize that this is an issue. I was speaking up about abuse, domestic abuse from my own father and mother. And we have plenty of proof from that. And I was shamed and ignored, again, with my own babies admitting, and coming forward with it. And we really just have to address it with better ways. And my point there was that these people will not lose jobs. There will be more opportunity for jobs. And if they entered this system with good intention, then that should be an exciting thing, that you could offer services to truly support families and focus on the parents, not going into court. These situations have no place in a courtroom. This is narratives, and winning is the energy in a courtroom, not the truth and the true best interest of our children. What are we going to do? What are the nuances of this case versus that case versus another case? We cannot have a blanketed system that addresses these things with case plans and timelines that then equal funding. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the higher the statistics, the more funding that you receive. So that's a huge drive to falsify records, to make cases something that they aren't. If we were really doing it the right way, they would have no funding because there wouldn't be issues. We would be addressing them as loving community and humans and working together as we should. And I think that that's also another great reason why I'm very hopeful about, groups like bikers or parents that are protecting, or anybody, that might even have different reputations or past or anything, but are here to set it straight. And that's really something that in this day and age, we really need to be accepting of and really encourage,
Well, and also just to kind of touch on that, I have to hit mute just to make sure they can hear us. To touch on that a little bit, also, some of the points that you were making, and I talk about this a lot. This is a moral issue for our nation, and obviously we've removed God from everything, and now we're begging for God to come back into everything, including the churches. That'd be the first place I'd love to see him come back into. Because every man thought they knew better, but listen, without a moral compass, all you would care about is, well, I'm not going to get a paycheck. If you would die to that paycheck, okay, if you would put that down and put down the sin, and you would care more about the neighbor, love your neighbor as yourself, and care more about your children and their children, you would understand that in other words, you have no foresight. Because this is disastrous what's happening. Like I tell people, your son or your daughter can marry one of these children, right? That went through this hell their whole lives. They'll meet and marry them and then have hell. And that'll just keep bringing about more and more. No healing whatsoever, because you're separating families. And so we have to have foresight, and we have to have morals, and we have to have, God wrote the book on the 10 commandments, on the moral values that we're supposed to have to love our neighbor as ourselves. It's very simple. And so without that, we're where we are right now. It's just that basic. Now it's time for us. People think it's like this big religious thing. No, just repent, change your mind, change your ways, and do the right thing, and you will not have this issue, because we've given everything over to this ungodly system. And did you honestly think they were going to nurture you and take care of you and not rob from you? No, they work for Satan. Let's face it. Like that's the basics of it all. And so we need desperately people like you, Will. I like I said, I so appreciate you, and people like you, and what you're doing internationally. I noticed too when I looked on your website, you're in Florida. You're not in New York. That's where we need you. You're in Florida. You're in. I'm trying to remember some of the states I saw that you're in. Was one of them West Virginia, or could you tell us about some of the states you're in for anybody that's watching that needs help?
All right, we started in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. We have currently 3 chapters in Oregon because it started there first, so the biggest growth has been there. We're down the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California. We have chapters all the way into Florida, but moving into the East has been a little more difficult because we're starting to realize that every operation we've done in the last 2 years has been out of pocket. We don't get large donations. We had a few people who help us, but for the most part, everything we've done has been out of pocket. Our expansion has been out of pocket and word of mouth, and slowly, one by one, getting people involved. The biker narrative that is out there is, it's kind of ill-informed. They're good and bad in everything. They're good and bad in every aspect of society. You have good cops, bad cops. You have good bikers. You have bikers that don't care. And we're just people. But there's a large group that cares. And it's a matter of getting word out. It's a matter of we work in conjunction with a lot of other groups. My brothers in Wolfpack with a C. Y'all can look it up. It's real easy to find. They're all over the place. They help us. We help them. It's brotherhood. It's sisterhood. We have men and women in our group. We have citizens in our group. We have bikers in our group. That's why it's called Citizens and Bikers. Everything we've done has been pretty much grassroots, out of pocket. We haven't had access to large funding, but the people we're fighting have access to government grants, donations from large donors who are trying to get a nice tax write-off or whatever. And the thing is, we're trusting the courts to protect our kids. So, and what we're actually doing is turning our backs. There's an old saying, and I'm not going to quote it exact, but those who give up freedom for safety deserve neither. And that's what we're doing with our children. We are trusting the courts to have our kids' best interest, but the kids' best interest is keeping the kids with the family, keeping the parents together with their children. If the parents are having a hard time financially, that's no reason to take kids from their parents. If a parent has a drug problem, then address the drug problem. Fix the family. You're not going to fix the family by tearing it apart. And that's what our government's doing. It's not. And the thing is, people think it's our government, but CPS, DHS nationwide has gone privatized.
It's a private for profit business. It's a private for profit business. They all have Dun and Bradstreet numbers on them. And yet that's why they'll say to you, well, you can't come in here with a camera. I'm sorry. Did you just tell me this was a public place? Yes, it is. But is it public or private? Like, you got to make up your mind. Pick one. And then they can't. Their mouths drop. Well, you can stand outside if you want to protest, but I want to know what's happening behind closed doors. I want to know what's going on in here. What's going on in here? What are you doing? And here's something that's unimaginable, but children, even if you have 2 good parents and the relationship breaks up, it happens. Okay. Normal, decent people don't fight each other to protect to have a life with their children. Okay. Normal, decent people co-parent. I hate that word in a way because they've coined it, but they co-parent. Okay. But abusers that want to continue to abuse you and they don't care about the children, they don't care. It's a form of narcissism. They go to family court and then they try to take the children 100% away from their loving caretaker. That is a sick thing. That is not a healthy thing. That is not a good thing. And then decent parents, their children, listen, if they live in two separate homes, which is sad enough, their children know that they can freely go to dad's house, freely go to mom's house. Hey, listen, I have to work late. Okay, you pick them up. And I've seen families, I know families that do that, but abusers don't do that. And you put it on a court order. Imagine being little Johnny and, well, Monday I'm here and Tuesday I'm here and Wednesday I'm here. I mean, that's not healthy for a child. It's just not healthy. You need to say, you can't look at a menu every day and see how do I have to live? This is not right. And this is what's happening. God gave us something that is so precious. It's called free will, to the point that you can choose him or not. Okay, that must break his heart that you don't choose him. He's our father, right? That, I'm sure that breaks his heart. But free will is so important to God. Okay, free will, your free will is robbed every single day when you can't freely do what you need to do. I'm not saying do bad things. I'm saying just freely live. And so this is what Satan, through this system, is stealing: our free will to protect our children, which comes naturally. We don't know any other way. That's just a natural God-given thing that's put inside us, our free will to do whatever. And that's what they're robbing. And this is so sick. And I don't know how people just stand there and think, call this obedience, or call this, I have to respect authority. There's a difference between respecting authority and respecting something that's ungodly. God doesn't tell us to respect this. There's no respect for this. This is pure evil. Okay. And it's worse than what I'm talking about now, because children are abused sexually, spiritually, physically, and emotionally.
The amount of pedophilia within the system is just absolutely disgusting. People really do not realize it, and for a long time we've been given that kind of excuse, like Will touched on earlier. There must be a reason why the children were removed if it got to that point, and they really just are not realizing what effect that has. And if you don't vibe with Satan or whatever, you can look at it in whatever term you want to, that you feel comfortable with or that resonates with you, but it doesn't change the reality of what it is. And it doesn't change that it is destroying our children. And, that's a big thing that they like to say is, issues with authority. I mean, even in mine, the excuse for not returning my children is that I haven't shown the correct behavior changes. Okay. And that I have an issue with authority. No, I don't have an issue with authority. I've supported law enforcement my entire life. I've supported this system and protecting our children. What I thought, just the narrative that everyone else was given, I was given as well. And I have supported, and I will to this day. I will not support corruption. I will not support trafficking. I will not support treason. And I will not support this being done to our children as we're sitting here by the minute. Hunting, destroying. It is not supportive. It is harassment. They harass you. They own you. It's a different form of slavery that you have no choice over having to endure and being forced to put through. I don't have any interest in fighting in the flesh. I have no interest in going into these courtrooms and doing this. I'm a mother. I love my children. I want the truth to be out. I want to share it in grace, and I want justice to be served. That's it. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts. It's not issues with authority. It's not parents delusional or crazy or mad. Yes, we are mad. And for the rest of everyone not to be mad is very concerning. Very.
This was never supposed to be in the first place. I talked about the Family Court Act in 1962. An act that was enacted without any of our vote. What is that? I mean, take a look. What is that? What is it in our laws? And again, like we were saying, like making these laws with children's names on it. Okay, that's just to appease us. That's just throwing us a little bone. That's all that is. So make us think that they're doing something. It's like when they invite me to come speak at the Blue Ribbon and speak here and speak there. They already know that they're doing this. So it's just an appeasing thing to make it look like we can continue to chase our tail some more and pretend that we're doing something, and they're not doing anything. They know darn well what they're doing. They know darn well how sick this evil is in this system. And again, that's one of the biggest things that we have to do. I can't help it, and I'm going to say it because I know that that we need God's favor, we need God's blessing, we need God's hand in all of this. And the only way we're going to get it is if we repent. The church, when I say the church, I'm not talking about the walls, I'm not talking about the four walls of a building. I'm talking about the church, the body of Christ needs to repent of turning things over to the world and asking for their help. Okay, because that's not what God wants us to trust him for our everything, our food, our everything. Okay. And there's a lot of different components to it, so to speak, that we need to look back into the word of God and say, what did we do wrong, so that we can get back on the narrow road and the level ground that he wants us to be on, the solid ground.
Well,
you
you
know
said that perfectly. And everything, and maybe people might think, oh, that's a turn off thing, but it's really not that hard. Just like you said, it's saying to yourself, wow, I was not aware of this happening, or I was, and I was guilty of this part, or I didn't recognize or acknowledge this part of it, and wow, I really get that now in my heart, and I'm going to do everything moving forward from this moment to do something about that, and not be, in that space of supporting that or doing that. That's, how you repent about something, you move forward and you do better and you stand up, and it gives great purpose to people. There's nothing bad that comes out of changing this system, and just simply admitting, like I said before, when something is no longer serving, or if ever served, and you allowed that through ignorance or lack of awareness, or it wasn't in your world at that time, but now it is. It's in everybody's world, especially parents. And it's simply time to say, you know what? We're not here fighting. Why do we have to be the ones that are put in the position of looking like we're fighting CPS by speaking out? We're not fighting CPS. We're not fighting against CPS. We're fighting for our children. And we're identifying the issues that are affecting our children and our families and ripping them apart. And if you are part of that, then you need to be held accountable. It's not personal. It's these people, the egos, the narcissism needs to get over it. Oh, they're attacking me. Oh, I'm this judge. I'm this DCF. We're DCF. They were hunting me in the neighborhood last week in an unmarked state, marked car.
I know.
Knocking on the neighbors' doors looking for me like the Gestapo. And the more that we are okay with this or allow it, it will just keep going bigger and bigger and bigger. And we will have hunting down the streets like we're already seeing. We sent the video to the governor, to DeSantis, and that's been a huge thing with me. If my father wants to be out and saying he's saving children, and DeSantis and all these people. And again, it's not personal. I'm not attacking anyone. We're addressing this, and we're hoping that these people make the right decisions and actually help us and actually step up, because that's very telling in itself. So my point there is, where are these people talking about that? My dad would rather have a clearinghouse than get out and say CPS is the root of our child trafficking issues and crimes in our country against children and humanity. Why isn't he fighting that? Why, we have to be asking these questions, and again, not with this energy of conspiracy or attacking or anything. This is what we should be doing as the people and under God to protect our children.
Well, I mean, listen, I can tell you that if I was to put a flashlight on all the courts I watch and what CPS does in all of them all over the country, I can tell you what they're going to do next. And because they lie so much and they've already done what they've done, they've put people into this mode, basically to defend themselves. Okay. And first people are shocked. Okay. Then they start, gaining themselves back together, going, wait a minute, I didn't do anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong. Even if I look at the laws on termination, or if I look at the laws on, what you would need to safeguard children from, none of these cases fit that. None of them fit that. Okay. And what the federal funding was initially for was to help a family, like say some family didn't have money to pay for heat. So that's what it was for, not to take their children from them. Okay. So, and like I said, and then what happens to the children just in taking the children? So, John Walsh, if you're watching right now, which I'm sure you are, if you really cared about your children, then you need to understand that ACE research, adverse childhood experiences, if you were to test your grandchildren right now, their psychological injury would go through the roof. You would actually be taking up to 20 years off of their lives, because just by taking them from their mother, and then every time they're crying for mom, each visit, you are causing more damage to your grandchildren who you are pretending to love. But I can tell you as an expert that that's not love at all. See, love doesn't do this to children or to your child that's sitting right here. If you had a heart and you claim to cry over your son, how can you do this to your daughter? This doesn't make any sense to me. If you really have a heart somewhere deep inside that doesn't have this hard shell on it, if there's something left in there, then you need to hear what I'm saying to you right now. Because just by taking them from their mother, you have caused them severe injury. A stripping and a ripping from a biological, loving family member, anybody, causes children tremendous abuse and suffering. Why would you do this? Why would you do this to them if you had anything human inside of you that actually cares for them at all? That doesn't make any sense. And why would you turn your grandchildren over to a system? Because that's what you're doing. You have been sold out to a system. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to address that issue to a certain extent. My views since coming into my friendship with Meghan, and this man is professed that his daughter's not psychologically fit to raise her children, yet you're the man that raised this child. What makes you think, John Walsh, that you're going to do any better for her kids than you did for her? I happen to know this woman. She's one of the most articulate, intelligent, and well put together women I've ever met in my life. Emotionally, I'm surprised she's able to sit here, because had my family done to me what her family's done to her, I'd be a wreck, and I'd probably be in prison for what I did. She's a strong woman. She's a smart woman. She's an articulate woman, and she's by no means unstable. Her instability came when her children were wrenched out of her life and denied to her. And I'll say this, the reason he's not addressing the real problem is because there's no fame or money in it. There's no notoriety in it. You're talking about a narcissistic megalomaniac. That's my opinion. And I'm here, John, with your daughter.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I don't need to be one. I have extensive background, and I only take people, whether they pay me or not. And Meghan and I have never shared a penny amongst each other. Okay. I only take people that I pray about and I believe in. That's it. And I've had all kinds of people come to me. Okay. All kinds of people from all over, every walk of life, come to me. And I do not, and there's nothing like I've done enough psychological research. I've had enough, I work with enough therapists and psychologists that actually are against this horrible system. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, Meghan. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the parents that I work with. I work hard to get these children back into their care because I know the damages that are happening to them and how they should be together, and they need to heal and be left alone. And I sent you a sheet of laws yesterday that judge violated because of your privacies, that he literally violated in front of a room full of people from all over the world that were court watching the other day. He violated the law. He does not have that kind of authority and power. He does not have that kind of authority and power to force you to talk about something that is your health privacy. Period. And I'm tired of it. I am tired of it. I'm tired of watching it. I'm tired of watching them with this pseudo false authority that they do not have. They have to answer to the people. And I'm tired of the people falling asleep while this is happening. Okay. Now, let me tell you something. And I appreciate what you just said, Will. I appreciate that. And you're 100% right. And Meghan is representative of so many families that are out there. And this is a painful heartbreak. And those of us that stand up are usually standing up while we're going through the pain, while we're going through the suffering and what's happening to our children. We're watching it happen to our kids. I know I lived it myself twice, 2 times. Judge McGinty did this to me 2 times. This other sociopath in Ulster County did this to me and my son. And the second time literally almost killed me. It almost killed me. It didn't, though, because see, God is bigger. And one of the things that we have to remember when you're going through this, I know so many of you are going through this. Megan's going through this right now. Okay. We're here to hold you up and gird you up through it and support you through it. Some of us didn't have that. Some people don't have that. That's why we're here. Okay. And we're only one, but one combined with another one, but we have to remember that all of heaven is supporting us. And I promise you that. And it is hard to go through, but you will come out on the other side and God will win this war. God already won it. Unfortunately, we have to go through it. It's like when Moses did what he did, how many times did he go before the Pharaoh saying, "Let my people go"? Okay. And they attacked the very person that tried to set them free, because people are funny that way, right? But we will get to the other side. We are getting to the other side, and we do win this. Okay. And really, genuinely speaking, if you are a Bible believing, true, genuine Christian, okay, we are the only authority here on this earth. We are the true authority here on this earth. He gave us authority to subdue this earth. Okay. So I hope people grasp that before you grasp anything. This is a war of good and evil. This is. And there are certain things that we need to repent of. Abortion is one of them. These might be the hard things for people to hear, but I'm going to tell it like it is, because it's not just about fighting, right and wrong. It's about fighting evil. And God has a way. Okay. God has a way. And if we're hypocritical, we don't want to look at that stuff. But if we aren't, we got to look at adultery. We got to look at fornication. We got to look at abortion. It's not just abortion. The church will talk about abortion till they're blue in the face while they're all getting them. But in the same respect, no one wants to look at adultery, remarrying people's husbands and wives, all this other stuff that's going on. I'm telling you guys, we need the favor of God on our lives individually, and you'll see him move very quickly in your life. Okay, this is part of it. This is part of it. Here's somebody right here, Tammy, I know very well. She's saying McGinty and his unlawful orders caused my 5-year-old to be sexually abused by her father, and caused me to have 2 strokes. And I want you guys to know, because I know it's hard to hear the negatives, but Tammy has her children 100% of the time, all the time. We do win our children back. Okay, I have my son all the time. Okay, we do win our children back. Megan, you will have your children back. I'm sorry you're going through this. I really am. And I know the pain that you're feeling. I've been there, and I'm there with you right now. I'm there. I'm with you. God has put us together. We are one body in Christ. We are sisters and brothers in Christ. We are here for each other. Okay, this is not fun. This hurts. I know it hurts. I feel it. I feel it. But you will have your children with you. He's using you for a greater thing here. Okay, this has been an evil that's been going on. And this is for some of you that are watching right now. I don't like it. I don't like that you have to go through it. I don't like that I had to go through it twice. I don't like it. I don't like the pain and suffering. Hurt me, but don't hurt my kid. Please don't touch my child, and do not touch these children. But they are. Okay, but they are. Okay, so there's many different ways to skin this cat: repentance and action. So please, guys, we need your help. If it's as simple as just sharing this video, if that's all you can do, do that. If you can donate to Will, if you can help Megan, if you can help some of my families, if you can donate to Punish for Protection, because we need finances too. We can't get places sometimes. Okay, we're willing, and sometimes we're not able. So we do everything we can, and if we all join together, we can. And you know what kills me? Millions of views on Kim Kardashian's lips. Give me a freaking break, okay? To tell women what they should look like when it's ridiculous. Millions of dollars go into clothes and nonsense and butt transplants and ridiculous lips that look disgusting. Fakeness. Millions of views, millions of dollars. Why? But we're asking for help for your own children. We're asking for help for I don't mean Megan, I'm talking about you that are watching. And where is it? Donations go to these multi-trillion-dollar fake pedophilia, fake nonprofits that are working with these judges and abusers. But I go to these events that I'm invited to go to, and they don't want to donate because I'm a 501c4 and they're not going to get a tax write-off. But they drive away in a Jaguar and have 3 other cars in their driveway that are fully paid for in their multi-million-dollar homes. I mean, that's disgusting. I've given everything I have. You know what? Because I'm not hanging on to it. And when I die, it's not coming with me. But when I stand before the King of Kings, hopefully I'll get a crown that I can hand back to him to put on his beautiful head. Okay, because it's got nothing to do with me. It's got to do with our children and families. And if we want to represent Christ to them, we better start doing some action to our words, because a lot of people say they believe in Jesus and they have a Christian name tag on their self, but it's not in their hearts. So that's all I have to say today. I don't know if you guys want to say anything else. Please keep us all in prayer. Keep these families in prayer. We have more to come. If you guys want to say anything else.
I just like to ask everybody to say a prayer for Meghan and her family. I really, they've become near and dear to my heart really fast. Her dedication, her spirit. She is one of the most admirable people I know. And I just like to ask everybody to say a prayer for her and pray that this ends fast. She gets her kids back. And ultimately, it'd be nice if the whole family was restored. But I think some people are just too far gone for that. But that's all I'd like to ask.
I agree with you, and Meghan knows you, and I prayed with Meghan, and we are praying for Meghan and all the families that come our way, and you as well. We'll be adding you now and your organization as well. My dog is going a little crazy. I guess he has to go to the bathroom.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm going. I got to go to the bathroom.
All right. Well, we're gonna close this now, and I want to thank everybody for watching, sharing. Go ahead, Meghan.
Thank everybody. And, the more that I speak out, the harder they make it, which is part of it. But I do want to thank everybody for the support that they've shown. People across the country have really supported me. Again, most people know that they've made me homeless and different things like that. So I could not, we could not be doing this without the support, the donations, things like that. So why I say that is just to thank everyone that has participated in that. Again, there's no foolproof way to this. We have to weed it out and see who's aligned to this, who is for the good and who isn't. Sometimes we might be wrong, but we're here with good intentions to really get to the root of this, and the focus is there for our children. So I just can't thank everybody enough. Please share these videos. Please, start these conversations in your community or amongst your friends, friends and people around you that, would be open to this information. And you also personally know people that have had to go through this system and have had to deal with this system, whether you realize it or not. So I just want to thank everybody and for the time. I pray, if you're in Florida, please let us know. The 18th of this month is a big day for me and my children. Hopefully they will do what's right and give them back before then. But again, they are trying to terminate rights and all of that on a 12-month basis for profit so that my parents can adopt my children. And my daughter is 9 years old. I wanted to speak to this for a second about the children's perspective because, my children know that they were in a loving home. They know that I was working with a therapist. They knew that, they were being, they witnessed the assault by my parents on Thanksgiving. They were there. So they know the realities of what's going on in an appropriate way for their age. And now they've been taken by strangers, and my children are only an example of what goes on every day. They're taken by strangers who are telling them that it's in the best interest of them and they're protecting them. And they're being put with abusers who are telling them, you're going to live with us forever. Your mommy is this and that. And all of that is being allowed to happen, and it's happening to your children everywhere. And my daughter's 9 years old. My son is 5. My other son is 2, and they even realize, like you said, there are studies that show the brain damage that comes from removal from a primary caregiver. They're having to sit there and say, my daughter last week says, mommy, I want to come home so bad. I told grandma that my mommy's nice and I really miss her. And my mother told her that, some other stuff, she's only nice when people are around, or different, brainwashing tactics. And I'm putting my own situation out there for people to realize how this does happen, how these people operate, whether it's their motive from one side or the other, and then working together using children. It's extortion, and it's really bad. So again, I know we're finishing up, and I just want to thank everybody that has supported us, that has gotten involved, that stepped up, not just for myself, but for advocates like Francesca, other families and mothers going through it. And we really hold that to our hearts, because that's what's going to stop this. That's what's going to change this. And I hope that that sounds and feels very encouraging to everyone here, that they can actually do something about one of the largest issue facing us today. Did we lose Francesca? Am I taking?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. That's okay. I heard you there. Thank you. No, I appreciate everything that you just said. And yes, I lost Wi-Fi for a quick second, but I'm back. Here we go. Here I am. Hi. So I appreciate my guests today. Thank you both for coming on. Thank you everyone that's been, that are watching, and your wonderful comments. I'm reading it. Pamela, you're asking, where is the study on brain damage? So I can tell you, as an ADA advocate expert in the Americans with Disability Act, SPECT scans will show that this type of trauma literally leads to, it's a form of brain damage. Now it's healable when you have restoration, and we believe in prayer as well. But some people, don't have that. They choose not to, or they just don't have people who know how to, work that through with them. But SPECT scans show what happens with post-traumatic stress. ACE research, adverse childhood experiences. There's actually a number system that they can do a test, and it shows you what happens to the children. And it's all trauma based and trauma induced, and it's psychological injury. And we can get into all of that at another show, where I can talk more about that in depthly, and why I don't really, like mental health issues and so on and so forth, I don't really like certain terminologies that they use, because it's very degrading, and that doesn't make you a bad person. Most people, probably everybody, has some kind of psychological injury or something that happened. You might have had a tough time growing up. You might have been involved in abuse. You may have, poverty could have done that, a bad neighborhood that scared you, something, a bullying in school. There's so many factors. A boyfriend that rejected you for no reason, somebody that, said something about your looks, too fat, too skinny, like whatever nonsense that people say. These types of things are traumas. But when you're ripped away from a loving family by a court system full of total strangers, I can't even begin to tell you what happens, and all this nonsense that goes on in this system. And that's why I fight it so bad. That's why I fight it so much and so hard every single day. So I do thank the viewers, guys, again, liking, subscribing, sharing on YouTube, hitting the bell icon. We have another program on Tuesday. It's the eeriness of Erie County, New York. You're going to definitely want to watch this one. It's going to be the Jody Gracer story, and I've been advocating for her for now over 2 years. We look like we're finally coming to the end with some success here. And actually, I'll be able to talk about mental health on that program as well, because Jody is a qualified, federally protected class member, disabled class member, and we'll get into that story. Part of her story is in the Dr. Nathanson story that you can see here on CPS News Network, and you can also see on my YouTube channel. So that'll give you a little bit of a background as well. And I just got my nephew back home. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Jimmy here says he just got his nephew back home. So praise God for that. Mm-hmm. Also, Kara got her daughter back, but unfortunately, one of her children was killed in foster care. But finally, she got her daughter back, and that was absolutely horrible what they put her through. And there's another example of that. And I will be having a story, not this week, but sometime next week, probably Tuesday of next week, which Susan Cobb, a very good friend of mine, she's been an advocate. She's more of an activist for years, and I'm going to be interviewing her, and we're going to be showing you child after child. And I know it's not going to be easy to watch, but it's important. It's very important. All the children, and we want to just honor them, but all the children that have been killed in foster care, and so that you see what's actually happening. Go ahead, Megan.
And that's a great thing you did point out. We are seeing through these efforts and this thing kids being returned, with people, the system backing down, and it is working. I do want to say that to the audience and to others out there. This is very effective, and it needs to be. It needs to be even more rapid, but it is affecting it, and children are being returned at this point. In the past days, weeks, months, because of it. So I do want to, really emphasize that, and imagine, once we all really do step up, what can really happen. I'm also really bad at this, and I forgot, anyone that I see some comments about how to get in touch and things, anyone can follow me on Twitter, at Meghan Walsh _. The photo that you saw of Reagan earlier is my profile photo. We've had some issues with stalking and people impersonating me and different things like that. So I do want to be clear that that is my social media presence, is that account on Twitter, Meghan Walsh, MEGHAN WALSH _ on Twitter, with the Reagan photo as the profile photo. So if anyone would like to get in touch, again, if you are in Florida, we have a big day on the 18th. We will be organizing more in the future. And we have, a good handful of people here, and families that are going through this as well here in Florida. It's one of the highest trafficking states in our country. And we really have an opportunity to come together and show that we're not okay with this. So again, God bless.
Yes, thank you guys, and thank you again for watching. Thank you, Meghan and Will, for being on today. Thank you to all my viewers. And if you need help, Punished for Protecting, you can go to punishedforbeingaaparent.com and go to the Book a Talk section and get an advocate to help you through this grueling time. And I can tell you too, just to kind of bounce a little bit off of Meghan, we have helped get more children back, and attorneys will attest to that, than attorneys. And we walk you literally by the hand through the entire process, and attorneys do not do that. So I don't know if you want to maybe talk about that a little bit, Meghan, put a 30-second plug for what we actually do.
I think that brings up a huge point that people don't know, and not to keep going on, but a huge loophole, that people, we've all been under another narrative that lawyers protect us. We hire a lawyer, we lose everything to pay a lawyer. I couldn't believe it. I did not believe it. I thought, this is their job, this is their oath that they take. And the public do not realize that they do not take an oath to us. They take an oath to the bar. And these people work with the judges and the CPS workers and all of them every day. They all know each other. Think about your workplace. Think about the dynamics there and how that works. It's the same with a courtroom and these situations and this system. The attorneys are taking an oath to the bar, and a big issue is you will hire an attorney and they will not put in your evidentiary, proof and different things at all. And they'll act like they are defending you and that they are doing their best, when really in reality, they've already made case plan agreements, different things like that. And I know that somebody else also touched on, if they can find disability with your children, then they actually get more funding. And a big way that they're doing that is the children are being abused once they're taken. And their response is, okay, well, now we have services for that. So when you hear services, please just be very weary and know that that is just more profit. It's building the case bigger. And you'll do everything. Parents do everything on these case plans, and they add to them. They don't need court orders to do that, but also they do not need court orders to return your children either. I want people to know that. So, it's a lot to learn, but it's very basic. It's very fundamental. And we could really be putting a lot of energy into actually protecting children and helping and supporting families for our future. That also goes into the prison system, like you mentioned earlier, and the guarantee of keeping that going from these children. So thank you.
Thank you guys again, and have a great day. And thank you, Meghan. And again, thank you, Will, for joining us today. International President Will Sabo, Citizens and Bikers for a Brighter Future, and Meghan Walsh, daughter of John Walsh, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that exploits children. Thank you again, guys, and have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you. God bless.